Houston and Texas today. Cristian Javier is taking the hill, as Dusty Baker said. Hey, you know what? We're going to go 6-man rotation here, kind of, preserve the bullpen and, get our starters a little bit more rest here. Going against Texas, Glenn Otto going for the Rangers. The Astros, $1.15 favorite. Total here, 8.5 on this game. Javier's solid, guys, and he's very versatile too. Javier's been in these type of positions before where he can come and start a game. He can, come out of the bullpen. Dusty's got a lot of faith in him. And on the flip side, you've got Glenn Otto. You got Otto the garbage man here. He's a Houston native. He got his first career start. I remember this last year because he's a Houston native and he got his first start against the Astros last August. It was a pretty good feel-good story. The guy went 5 innings. He had 7 strikeouts, didn't give up earned run. Astros never saw him before. It's like, okay, it's, maybe there's something to this guy. Astros saw him 2 weeks later, got lit up like a Christmas tree, 7 earned runs, 7 hits. He walked 4 batters, only lasted 3 innings. He got called up for the minors last week to make a start, so he's back at it again now. Myself, I think it's a good spot for the Astros to actually start getting on a little win streak here, make it 2 in a row today. I like Javier. I don't like Otto the garbage man. I'm going to take the Astros. Base winner, some thoughts?
Those are harsh words on Glenn Otto Jr. I would not call him a garbage man. I think.
Well, again, if anybody knows, I like movie references, some TV and some music references. That is a movie reference, and I'll test you guys' knowledge. That's a Pulp Fiction reference. Anybody see Pulp Fiction? Know what I'm talking about? I mean, Jeff, that's got to be your kind of movie, like me.
Of course, sure.
I have watched bits of Pulp Fiction. I used to work with a guy. His name was Brad, and there was some kind of quote in that movie. You got a big brain.
Look at the big brains on Brad.
Yeah, exactly. And so people used to, when he lost games, people used to say, "Oh, look at the big brains on Brad." He did some college basketball for us.
Yeah. And as we know, anybody that knows Pulp Fiction, there were many mistakes in that movie. And Samuel Jackson, in the same scene, on one scene he called him Brett, and then he called him Brad. And that was also the same scene where the bullet holes were already in the wall before they shot up the place. So remember that. So a little Pulp Fiction trivia that I can give you guys. And just so everyone else knows, Otto the garbage man, when they were getting cleaned up after they cleaned up the car with all the brain and skull and all that kind of stuff, Samuel Jackson, Jules Winfield said to Quentin Tarantino, to Jimmy, he says, "Hey, don't leave these bloody clothes here for Otto the garbage man." There you go.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's not necessarily about his talent. You're kind of using Pulp Fiction as a reference for his last name.
That is true, but okay. I do equate it to garbage man because the guy gave up 7 earned runs in 3 innings the last time he faced the Astros. Okay. He's not a very good pitcher.
So I'm a little bit higher. I'm a lot higher than you are on Glenn Otto Jr. I actually have him at 100, which is league average, so not that high. Javier is in at 91. There's not as much difference in this offense, in these offenses, than you would think. I have the Astros 11% better than average versus right-handed pitching. The Rangers offense not too terrible though. I mean, they're 10th in baseball versus right-handed pitching based on the individuals that comprise the lineup. The model has it priced at -102, and so I'm going to pass on it. I don't think it's a bad play. It's just a play that I'm not going to make. One of the things, if you talk about Stuff Plus, Javier in his relief appearances has been really good. 81st percentile Stuff Plus. Otto has not been bad either. He's a 65% all Stuff Plus. His first start of 2022 by the 3 metrics is a 61 percentile. So I kind of think he's maybe a little bit better than average. I would not put him in garbage man status, but I wish you luck on this play. I'm going to pass on it.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's only 115 too. A lot of people maybe not be familiar with Javier. Think of him, he's more of a reliever, but he does have good stuff. And then, Otto, again, maybe those numbers bear out a little bit. And Texas is at home. So to me, there's some value here with the Astros. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I'm going to take Texas. And it's funny that you mentioned his last time out against the Astros. You didn't mention, though, his first outing against the Astros last year where he absolutely dominated them over 5 innings.
Story. I did.
Yeah.
I did mention that where he basically threw the shutout. Those are the numbers I gave you first.
And remember, TC also pitched, and I think you alluded to this, he pitched last week. He was very good. And now, look, Oakland's not a great lineup, as we know. But listen, I got I'm not going to say I don't like the Astros, but, this team's not been very good. Can we just be honest? Altuve's been out, kind of the table setter. They're not really scoring runs. And as Mark alluded to, it's a pretty good Texas offense. They have some kids that can hit the baseball. They've got some big boppers. I'm going to take a shot here. I think a lot of people are just going to play Houston because they're Houston. But the truth is, they've not been good offensively. I don't think it's a major advantage in the pitching matchup. I don't love their bullpen either. Look, anytime you back Texas, it could be a mess in the late innings. But I agree with Mark. I don't hate Glenn Otto. I think he's actually all right. Look, we all have bad outings, every day. Glenn's entitled to one occasionally. I think he's a good young pitcher. I don't think he's Mackenzie Gore or anything. So yeah, I'm gonna go the other way here. I don't usually fade TC. Him and I kind of have the same thoughts on things, but at a little plus price, I think Texas is just decent, and I don't think Houston's as good as I think we maybe think they are right now.
Well, here's the deal. The reason why the Astros were struggling is because Alvarez was starting off slow and Tucker was just horrendous. Well, Tucker has been on fire. Tucker's got 6 hits and a couple homers in his last 3 games, and he started off very, very slow last year, is identical. So the Astros bats are starting to come alive. Altuve at the top of the order not being there. He'll be back this weekend against Toronto. That's a big void. You're right about that, Jeff. And again, they haven't been able really to find a leadoff hitter. Probably McCormick's been their best leadoff hitter, but they've been rotating. But Bregman's pretty solid. Alvarez is getting it going now. Gurriel's starting to hitting the ball. And like I said, Tucker is the real key for them. So again, I'm kind of banking that the Astros are going to start putting it in gear. And I saw some signs of that over the last 3 days. So anyway, like I said, wouldn't surprise me if they lose here, but they're going to start putting some wins together, and they've rarely had a 2-game win streak. So today I'm thinking, okay, it's good timing. We'll see how it works out. And as you mentioned, Mark, with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, same thing happens in whatever Globe Life Field. There's more Astro fans there than Ranger fans, so it's almost kind of like a glorified home game for the Astros.
I'm going to say one thing. I've been known over the years to bash the people, and I'm not bashing anyone here. Please, I'm not. But when people...
I think we lost.
Until the playoffs, stadiums mean absolute guts to these games. None. Zero. Doesn't matter. These stadiums are too big. Nobody... Do you agree with that, guys?
I think to an extent I agree with what you're saying from a home field advantage in certain parks. Now, certain parks are lively. Where I would disagree with you is I think the home field is very important from a characteristics of hitters standpoint. In fact, a lot of these GMs they bring players in based on the characteristics of their home park. So from that standpoint, I think the home park's very valuable. From the characteristics of the hitting standpoint. But I think that what you were trying to put, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're trying to say is the atmosphere, the playoff type atmosphere. And you don't get that. Maybe you would on a Sunday night. And so I would agree with you as far as that goes, Jeff.
Yeah, I agree with you too, as well too. I don't put much stock. I have no problem betting, visiting teams or whatever. Probably the only thing you got to worry about is guys in these cities staying out too late and a little bit hungover the next day. That's a legitimate factor.
Right, but I'll hear people say, like in the NBA, in like a regular season game, they'll be like, "Oh, well, Lakers are in a struggle. They're on the road. There's gonna be a lot of fans." Do you really think LeBron James cares?
Yeah, these guys are pros. You're right.
What are we talking about here?
All right, lock me in with the Astros. We'll take the Houston Astros at -115. All right.